Feels good to be doing nothing in the summer. Ava, you haven't recorded in 5 days. I haven't? Oh, no. I have to start recording right this minute. Hi, Grandma. Sorry, I haven't recorded in 5 days. I was just taking a little break, getting video ideas. But finally, we come back to Wayside School. Let's get continuing where we left off. Chapter 17, John. John had light brown hair and a round head. He was Joe's best friend. John was one of the smartest boys in Mrs. Jules's class, but he had one problem. He could only read words that had been written upside down. Nobody ever wrote anything upside down, but it was only a little problem. John was still in the high reading group. He just turned his book upside down. It was easier for John to turn his book upside down than learn to read correctly. But the easiest way isn't always the best way. Mrs. Jules said, "John, you can't go on reading like this. You'll just spend the rest of your life turning your books upside down." "Why not?" asked John. "Because I said so," said Mrs. Jules. "Besides, what happens when I write something on the blackboard? You can't turn the blackboard upside down." "No, I guess you're right," said John. "I know I'm right," said Mrs. Jules. "You are going to have to learn to stand on your head." John couldn't stand on his head. He had given up trying. You would have to if you had fallen. You would have too if you had fallen over as many times as he did. Joe was John's best friend. He could stand on his head. Every time John fell over, Joe stood up on his head. After all, that's what best friends are for, right? My head is too round. My head is too round, Mrs. Jules. I can't stand on it, said John. Have you ever heard of a headstand? Not a handstand, a headstand, where you put your head on the ground. Never mind. Of course you can, John, said Mrs. Jules. If Joe can stand on his head, you can stand on yours. It's easy, John, said Joe. I can't, John repeated. I always fall over. Nonsense, said Mrs. Jules. All you have to do is find your center of balance. Now up you go. Now up you go? You mean down you go? John put his round head on the floor and swung his legs up and fell right over. Then Joe stood on John's head. See, John, he said, it's easy. Nothing to it. Joe said. "Well, help you," said John, said Mrs. Jules. "Joe, get on John's head and give me a pillow for underneath my desk. Nancy, Calvin, come here and give us a hand." Mrs. Jules took the pillow from Joe and set it to the floor. "All right, John, we'll surround you," she said. "We won't let you fall." John put his head on the pillow and swung his legs up. He started to fall one way, but Nancy pushed him back. Then he started to fall the other way, but Calvin straightened him out. John kept on falling a little bit this way and a little bit that way, until he finally found his center of balance. Sorry, my book is written upside down, as you can see. Alright, starting up here, so it's kind of hard. Let me just turn this around. Hey who? Haha. Wait. I think we're meant to to start at the bottom. This is weird. Wait, okay. Okay. I think I got it. Hey, look at me, said John. I'm up. I really am. I'm standing on my head, and I found my center of balance. It's beautiful. I can read the blackboard. Hey, Calvin, bring me a book, and I won't have to turn it upside down. Ha ha ha. Hey, who? Ah! Bam. While Calvin went to go get a book, John fell flat on his face. You better stay off my head, Joe, he warned. Are you all right, John? Asked Mrs. Jules. Yes, I think so. I feel a little funny. Hey, I can still read the blackboard, and I'm not upside down. I can read everything now. When I fell, I must have flipped my brain or something. That is wonderful, John, said Mrs. Jules. Here, put the pillow back under my desk, and I'll reward you with a Tootsie Roll Pop. They are in my coffee can on top of my desk. On top of my desk. John placed the pillow on the top of her desk. Then he looked under her desk, but he couldn't find the Tootsie Roll Pops anywhere. Well, thanks for watching. Make sure to come back for more. I'll see you next time. Bye. Hey. Just make sure to never, ever leave out 5 days of posting. Okay, bye. I'll see you next time.